I've told this story in a sermon before, but there once was this lifeguard stand, and it was run down, right? And it was on a particularly treacherous stretch of beach, and there were pretty bad shark attacks. And if you've seen the documentary Jaws, you know how shark attacks can be, but there were these pretty bad shark attacks all the time, and so people avoided the beach like crazy because it was so dangerous, and there's a pretty wicked undertow. What's the word? There's a pretty wicked slipstream under the water that would pull people out, and they wouldn't be able to swim anymore. And so there were a lot of drownings at this area of beach, and then there were rough waves that were hitting the rocks, and so this beach was just very dangerous. And so at one point there was a bond issue passed, and they said, we have got to improve this area of beach because it's got to be more. We've got to invest more in our lifeguarding. And so they invested in new training for the lifeguards, and they invested in upgrading their tower to be able to better serve the people there. And so they brought in the best of the best lifeguards, and these lifeguards' focus was rescuing people who were close to drowning. And their focus was, if somebody gets hurt by the waves, we bring them to the stand and we give them life-saving aid. And so they did strict training in paramedic activities for these lifeguards. They drilled them all the time on ways that they could save drowning victims. They did consistent fit tests to make sure that these guys and girls could swim through these treacherous waters, and they saw a massive amount of success because their focus was on saving people on this beach. People's lives were in danger, and these lifeguards were passionate about saving swimmers, saving people who were enjoying this beach. And so this lifeguard stand started to gain notoriety, and it started to become kind of elite. And so people saw that as an aspiration. They wanted to accomplish this. They wanted to be part of this wonderful movement of saving lives and really having a great representation of what it meant to be heroes on this beach. And so the notoriety increased. People were waiting in line to be part of this lifeguarding, but the lifeguards also started to say, we should improve this lifeguard stand. And so at first it was all functional improvements, right? We've got to get one of the shock machines clear. We got to get one of those, and we've got to get better tourniquets, and we've got to get better backboards in case somebody hurts their back or their neck. And so they started first with functional improvements, but then there was some new management, right? And the new management said, I don't know that we have to focus on just saving people all the time. Maybe sometimes we should be able to kick back and enjoy ourselves. The break room needs a little work, and so the new management started investing more in the break room. And then they said, maybe we invest a little bit into the seating here in the lifeguard stand. It would be nice to have a little better lumbar support. Some of us are aging out of the prime of our lives, and our backs just aren't what they used to be. So maybe we could buy some nicer seating, and so that did for a while. And generations came and went in this lifeguarding, and slowly they started to kind of lose focus on why the lifeguard stand was there. Yeah, they were still taking care of people, but because it was so elite, everybody wanted to come hang out with these lifeguards, and because it was such a thing to aspire to, everybody wanted to spend time in this lifeguard stand. And so slowly and surely, the management also changed with that, and the management started to say, the thing about bringing bleeding shark attack victims into the lifeguard stand is it kind of messes up our couches that we've got, and we spend a lot of money on those couches. And so we're not saying not to save people, we're not saying not to help these shark attack victims. We're just saying let's keep them outside and the thing is, when people are swimming in the ocean, they get a lot of salt water on their clothing, and that's not really good for the fabric we've got. And then they started to say, we appreciate this window we've got in our lifeguard stand to look out and to see all the people that are hurting. But on the other hand, when we're having parties here, it'd be nice if we could have kind of a television where we could watch football games, where we could play video games during these parties. And it seems like it would help if we weren't so distracted by all the things going on out in the water. So what we'll do is we'll have some of us be lifeguards, but then the rest of us are here for the club activities. And so what we'll do is every now and then we'll send a lifeguard out to kind of check on the safety of the patrons and the beachgoers, but the rest of us don't need to really worry about safety for people. And so as this progressed, they watched as slowly and surely lives started to be lost again. The people who came to the beach felt unsafe. The beach started getting run down again. And then it was no longer an elite lifeguarding group. Suddenly this had become just about a club for fashionable people to watch television and to ignore the problems on the beach. Now, I did not invent that little parable. I heard it from a professor in seminary. Her name was Ruth Ann Foster, and I think she was teaching texts part 3, which would have been the Gospels, if I remember right. And what we've been talking about on Facebook Live, and what we've been talking about some in sermons and things like that is what does it mean to be a church that is focused sharply on our mission? What is a church that focuses in with just a laser focus on what God has called us to do? What would it mean if we became a church who decided we don't care if our couches get messy, and we don't care if our carpet gets messed up, and we are here to help the dying world that we're in the middle of? And what if we opened our windows again to look out and to see the pain and to see the difficulty and to see the hurt of people? Being in the lifeguard stand as a lifeguard is uncomfortable. You have to be on your guard. You have to be watching, and you have to be ready to move whenever people need to be rescued. Being a Christian in a hurting and dying world is a similar place for us. And I believe that what has happened is that we've allowed all these other features, all these other ideas, all these other processes and programs and studies and all these other things, they've become our focus, and we've forgotten what God has placed us here to be. And that is a toehold of the kingdom of God in this world, an inbreaking of God's reign in each of our persons. And then we take that reign to everyone we meet. We are meant to be lifeguards in this world. We're meant to call out to people when the water is not safe. We're meant to swim ourselves into this dangerous water. How can we be lifeguards if we're not on the beach? How can we love non-Christians if we don't know any non-Christians? Church family, I want to encourage you today. This is one of the first conversations I had with Christian Fellowship Church, but we want to be a more missional church. And one of the ways we do that is to recognize that this is the central call of the church, is mission, mission, mission. Our call is to be the lifeguards, the lovers of the world. Our call is to be so obvious. I was thinking about the parable of the prodigal son the other day, and I've realized this before, but I realized it. There's only 3 characters in that story. So we're either the prodigal son, we're either off doing crazy things, we're either drowning in the water, or we're the older son who is judging the younger son, who is mad about the younger son being welcomed home, who is sitting in the lifeguard stand ignoring the problems of the world. Or we help the Father do what the Father does, and that is welcome home the prodigals. And it's going to get our clothes messy, and it's going to get our church building messy, and it means that we're not going to be comfortable all the time. It means that we are called to change and to grow. But this is a wonderful world to live into, and this is a wonderful call to live into. So my encouragement to you is that we would be the lifeguard stand of our community, that we would be a lifeguard stand of Columbus, Ohio. We'll see you on Sunday morning, church.